Hello, everybody. Welcome back to E2KGn30, episode number 4. For you new people, that stands for Enough to Keep Going. News in 30 minutes. We're going to go through the news for this past week and, give our opinions maybe and, make fun of stuff. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen tonight? With me tonight, I have just Mr. Zeus Adamus. Zeus, how's it going?
Very good. What's up, everybody?
No DB tonight. He is off doing some family things. That's fine. That's good. Family's important. So hopefully he'll be back next week, and we'll let's get started here. We got some interesting news here this past week. A lot of this stuff actually that I found was actually just today, I believe, most of it. But first, we have some Valve news. Looks like they're doing some work on their system here.
Yep, so this one comes to us from Game Informer. So posted over on their website is a report that Valve is working on revamping their Steam recommendation system. So this is kind of in vogue these days, right? YouTube first changed theirs, I think, was the chronology, and then the really big one that really everyone noticed was Netflix went from stars to from stars. I think they did a two-step, right? They went from half-point stars to whole number stars, which that frustrated me as it was. And then I think now they've just gone to thumbs up and thumbs down.
Yep, unfortunately, it's even worse.
So it's so strange to me that in a world where we are radically increasing our compute power, that and everybody's all up in arms about the in vogueness of analytics and visualization, that all of these systems and services, rather than allowing things to be presented more granularly, are deciding to further obfuscate what people's opinions actually are by burying them in these like binary recommendation systems or point systems. So at any rate, I jumped ahead kind of to my analysis and commentary before I reported on the story.
That's right.
So Valve's approach is a couple different things. So they want players to be able to kind of stockpile things kind of in their recommendation list and keep them there, so that you can kind of observe the statistics of that given game over time. So maybe you have a buy point when if you put it in your recommendation watch list or whatever, and watch it over like 3 or 4 different version updates, and if it stays up there, because Steam is one of those places that has, and I think the Google Play Store has this as well. Maybe the Apple App Store does as well, but they have this like, it lists an opinion both for like opinions against the specific version that is the most recent, and then they separately list the overall opinion or score of the given application over full time, so you can be aware of where a game or something may have been particularly strong in its initial outing, but then a particular version came out that everyone hated. So Valve is also talking about expanding their Steam curators program, and they want to be able to. They want players to be able to put filters on that, so they can kind of burble certain games of certain types to the surface and repress seeing some of those at all. Trying to see if there's anything else in here. And what they also want to do is they also want to kind of dig a little deeper into your personal data, meaning they don't want to just look at how you're recommending games, but they definitely want to and use that to provide recommendations to other players. But I think what they want to do is they want to actually look at how you spend your gameplay time, so that if you're a person who plays first-person shooters all day, but you're recommending racing games, right? That might be something for them to take into account in your recommendations, both in presenting recommendations to you and how heavily they utilize your recommendations for other people. So actually, Valve is bucking the trend a little bit, and they're actually kind of data mining more refined data in order to overhaul their recommendation system.
All right. Yeah, it seems like it's, I mean, they're going in the right direction, I suppose. I mean, I'm not a big Steam user, so I mean, I jump on there every once in a while, but so I don't know how how this compares to the way they did it before. So I don't. You're probably more big of a Steam user. I mean,
yeah, but I don't use their like recommendations and referral system as much.
no.
Like we mentioned, I think on the last episode of Enough to Keep Going, where we talked about game purchase regrets. Right, it's only been very recently that I've started paying attention to Steam user reviews and scores before I buy a game. So I have onboarded with that. But what I really haven't done is I don't really pay a ton of attention to what Steam is recommending to me,
Right.
or what other people have in their recommendations list. Like it's a little arrogant, but my feeling is I'm a big boy. If I want to search for like the top racing games, I can search for the top racing games, right? Or the top like space simulators or whatever. What I really wish Steam would do is I really wish that they would just align all of their genre listings to be more of the standards, right? I mean, they never really did it themselves. It's really only done now because people tag things as such, but like Steam doesn't really sort things into a real genre category. I guess they do a little as far as first-person shooters versus racing games versus simulation games. But you see weird things popping up in those categories for some reason. So I've never really been super overly confident about how they sort and sift that stuff themselves.
Okay. Is there a timetable on when this is going to come out, or is it already rolling out?
Actually, it closed the article. So.
Oh. Yeah, I didn't see one in that article. I don't know if you had seen another article with when they're going to come out with it.
I didn't. And usually the way I see Valve approaching things like this, like, you're right, there is no timetable, and they just slowly start seeding elements of it incrementally. I don't think there's going to be any Big Bang Theory where they go, hey, the new referral system is here. I think they'll slowly enable incremental features, as we talked about over a period of time. And then one day they'll just all be in place, and Valve will say, hey, over the last few months, we've been enabling features of a new referral system.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. I guess that's fine. That's fine.
That being said, if you do want more information, they do, in this Game Informer article, they actually do have an embedded video embedded on the page of an actual Steam. I guess he's a developer giving a talk on some of the changes that they intend to make.
Okay, cool. Yeah, definitely check out that article.
Yep.
All right. So next up, it looks like we got some sports here. Some mobile tennis, maybe.
Yeah, so I had a hard time actually fully understanding exactly some of the intricacies in this article. At the end of the day, what the article equated to me to define was that, hey, there's Virtua Tennis on mobile, at this point. Virtua Tennis, we talked in the last episode a bit about how, we both have some Sega DNA in our past, a love for the Sega Saturn and for the Dreamcast. And probably other, definitely for me, other Sega platforms further back than that as well. On the Saturn, on the Dreamcast, we finally got our first versions of Virtua Tennis, which, in my mind, they were the first. There'd always been tennis on consoles in the 4-bit, 8-bit eras. They were really kind of bad. It was basically pixels running across the screen.
Yeah.
Basically Pong, right? But Virtua Tennis was one of the first games in my mind that looked like incredibly beautiful, rendered on a console, and the game was a graphical step up from a lot of other games that released during its time. Although that game or games of that lineage are now available on mobile. So I don't know why. So this is a matter. We're getting this in association with Sega Forever branding that they announced. I think DBQ covered that story maybe a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So this is a free-to-play game on mobile. I'm sure it has in-app purchases. My problem that I had and where it got confusing for me is number one, and this is an article on Destructoid, so many of the writers on there who report news are not paid. They're just kind of hobbyist level writers, much like we were hobbyist level podcasters who wrote this. So I didn't see when this will be available, and especially I didn't see if this was Android or iOS. I reckon that, and I'm pretty sure that it's both. But where I really lost track is the writer steps through the whole past history of Sega Virtua Tennis, and apparently there was a Virtua Tennis Challenge, as well as Virtua Tennis 4 and the old Virtua Tennis series and Virtua Tennis 3. I was only familiar with the numbered versions, but I don't know that it matters in terms of this game. I think it's just safe to say, hey, there is a version of Virtua Tennis on mobile.
Yeah, so, it looks like Challenge, I guess, came out in 2012 for mobile games, and I guess it didn't really do all that well. So I guess they're just rebranding it under the Sega Forever banner. Yeah, and just free to play now, or free to play, and then it'll probably be at least ads, if anything, when you're playing through this. I like the Virtual Tennis games back in the day. I can't even think of any tennis games that I've played in the longest time. I don't even know on the 360 if I played any or not.
No, I think there may have been a version of Virtua Tennis on the 360. Yeah. There was some tennis game I thought on the 360, but yeah, I think the biggest thing, other than Virtua Tennis that has come along since then, was Wii Tennis.
Well, yeah.
But I mean, to me, those are the only two significant titles that stand out in my mind as far as tennis games, and so that's a pretty big hallmark.
Yeah, I think there's the Mario Tennis too, which I don't think I've ever played that game.
Right.
But yeah, I did play table tennis on 360. That was the Rockstar game.
Right.
The proof of concept for before Grand Theft Auto 4 came out.
Right.
But that was probably about it.
So now I am usually the hardware guy, but you picked up the lead on a story about a couple of big hardware manufacturers.
Yes, I'm stealing your thunder this week, so I hope you don't mind. So this first article I found here on Gamma Sutra was Logitech is buying Astro, the makers of the headset makers, for $85 million. Looks like the deal is actually going to close out in August of this year. And like I said, they're going to pay $85 million. Well, it says $85 million in cash, so we'll see how that works out. Just truckloads are going to go to the office and just throw the money out on the lawn, I suppose. But they're buying that. They bought Mad Catz, I believe, last fall, which is it's gone now. And they also have I don't know how you pronounce it, Cytec hardware brand.
So the lineage goes Cytec or Gosh, you just said it. Now I'm brain dumping. I'm sorry. I'm extremely tired this evening.
That's all right.
I've been dropping sync all night. So Mad Catz bought Cytec years ago, which was a huge get because I think we talked about this on one show because I think one night when we were talking about joysticks. So Cytec was a big high end game controller company. They were bought by Mad Catz, which is like the industry's like poster child for cheap, inexpensive, but also highly unreliable and sometimes not very durable gear. So there was this huge wave of concern about was Mad Catz going to just completely destroy the Cytec brand and what it stood for. Fortunately, they didn't. But then that's how Logitech wound up getting Cytec because through its purchase of Mad Catz.
Oh, okay, yeah, that confused me a little when I was reading that paragraph. I was like, wait a minute, do they have it already, or did they buy it also? So I was a little confused. Yeah, so they got the space flight sims, farm sim controllers. I don't even know what that is. Never even heard of that.
So in the PC world, it's really, really, really weird. And I've only become aware of this like in the last few weeks. So Farm Simulator, which is a game on, it's a game on PC. It's available via Steam. I'm not sure if Steam is the sole distribution channel, but it's one of the big ones. It's a very big game. It's hugely popular.
Yeah, they have it on Xbox too. I've seen it. It's always on sale when they have their big sales, throughout the spring and summer and stuff. Yeah, winter.
Right, and game controller companies make like sophisticated game controllers for big farm equipment. So there is like a it looks, if you've ever seen like the shifter knobs that like Logitech makes as well as Thrustmaster, it basically kind of looks like that, but it's a little more burly and it has a little more points of articulation in different slots and positions it can go into. I've never driven a piece of farm equipment, so I don't have expert knowledge of what that controller like does. I think what I've seen is that it has some type of forward, backward, vertical slot, and then it has like four lines of, for a total of 8 positions, right? So left and right side on either side of that line that put the farm equipment in some mode, but it is basically a farm control system, right? That bolts onto your desk just like wheel and pedals does, and I think they sell them with pedals too. So
nice.
Yeah, it's apparently very big.
All right, yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. That's interesting. I know every time they have those sales, and I'm kind of weeding through the games. My son will see that, like, oh, I want to get that. I'm like, yeah, okay, maybe one day. Hold on here. So we'll see. Maybe one day. The only thing I don't like about it too is like you can do co-op, but it's only online. So I was like, I don't want to do that. I'd like to, help my son out. But anyways, we digress here. So yeah, they Logitech has their own, line of premium headsets and stuff like that. But I mean, I guess obviously Astro has been pretty popular lately. I know the consoles are pretty big. I always see on the forums that everybody says, oh, good Astros, they're the best. I'm assuming they're fine too on PC. I don't know if you've ever used them.
So I haven't personally. I'm trying to think. So I've used the kunais, the kunai titanium. I guess I bought them at the beginning of this generation and still have those. I've grabbed the I'll call them proprietary, but I've grabbed the first party headsets from both Sony and Microsoft.
Right.
And then I use a Plantronics and a Thrustmaster as well. But yeah, I've never used the Astros. The big thing about the Astros is they are the step beyond the regular headsets that they are is that they do virtualize 7.1 sound in the headset. So that's kind of why they've gotten they were the first ones. I think that they were the first ones to really deliver that capability at really high quality. So they may not have been the absolute first ones, but they were definitely the ones who showed up to the fight with a really high quality solution for those, and that's where kind of people fell in love with them.
Okay. Yeah, I've never had a pair of Astros. I usually just use, like you said, like the default ones that you usually get, and I don't even remember what the brand now that I have. I bought another brand for my Xbox, but I can't remember what it is. Something I never even heard of, but I looked them up, and they're supposed to be really good. I'll have to look them up and let you guys know what that is the next time. But yeah, so I mean, assuming that's a pretty big deal. So that's pretty much all the article says, other than just they're talking about the VP, and they're saying how I'm going to butcher this guy's name probably, Jesh Desai. That sounds good. Just how Astro's been big in popularity, especially in the esports arena. So I mean, obviously esports is big nowadays, so they want to get even more of a piece of that. I always see a lot of people using Logitech stuff when I watch the esports stuff, but I guess it's not as big as they'd like to be. So let's go from one headset to another here. We got a little VR news from Oculus. So Bloomberg, and this is from Gamasutra again. Bloomberg has been talking about Oculus, and this is just a source that they're speaking to. They obviously don't give the source, but Oculus is going to bring out a standalone VR headset next year, but it's going to be not as powerful as obviously the one you have now, and it's not going to be super low powered like let's say like a smartphone, like a Samsung Gear or something like that. It's going to be in the middle, probably around like $200 or so. So middle ground. Hold on, I lost my place here. A second here. So yeah, like I said, it'll be due out sometime in 2018, but they're probably going to be reaching out in October to developers to try to get games going for this. Oh, that's pretty interesting. I thought codename Pacific, and if they got a codename, I suppose this is pretty much real. And once again, it doesn't need a PC or it doesn't need a mobile phone. It's just totally standalone. So it'll be interesting to see. And supposedly it's not supposed to be as bulky, or I shouldn't say as bulky, but as heavy as say like the Samsung Gear, which I didn't really think was all that heavy in the first place. But it's going to be interesting to see like what kind of storage this has, I guess, or how it's going to operate the games. So I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on this? And no positional tracking, it does say. So it's just like the Samsung Gear, basically. It's just kind of, thing on your face, basically.
No, nothing really. I haven't made the jump to VR. As I've said, I'm much more interested in AR. And I was saying that before it became the popular thing to say. Now everybody says it. So I'm much more interested in things like HoloLens and in those applications. And I think it's neat that it's progressing towards decoupling it from like these basically very huge, backpack, power units and all the crazy things and wires and cables that it takes to power it. But it's still not. You can see, if you're watching the video version of this, or if you're listening to the audio version, I'll say it for effect. Obviously, I'm wearing glasses. I just tend to not like to have to put something else, over my face or eyes. So I basically don't go to 3D movies because I don't want to wear 3D glasses. And I don't like being forced to wear my contacts if I don't want to wear my contacts that day. So no, it's cool. It's a nice progression. And obviously the ultimate thing would be to get VR down to something like your regular eyeglasses that you can wear. So
yeah, cool. When I use the Gear, because I got one from a friend of mine, I think I mentioned that a little while ago. It's actually not too bad over my glasses. It's a little snug, but it's not totally uncomfortable. So I haven't spent I don't know, probably only like 15 minutes maybe with it, 20 minutes at the most, having it on, but
right.
It's all right.
And I have one too from last year. Yeah, so from the Galaxy S7, I pre-ordered one for my wife's upgrade because I was buying a Note 5, and then I pre-ordered her Galaxy S7 so that I could get the free Gear VR and take that for myself. So, but I used it a few times. I mean, my other problem is I have really bad allergies, and when my allergies are really bad, my eyes water a lot. So,
yeah,
strapping the wet eyeballs that are already wearing glasses right into a visor, with a rubber boot around it is not the best experience in the world. And even then, sometimes when I've used it, I have to take my glasses off, and that's still not enjoyable. But the main problem I have with the Samsung implementation too is that the really neat stuff to use, the stuff that might keep you engaged for more than like 2 minutes at a time, you have to have a Samsung account for, and I'm not signing up for yet another username and password and giving them all my personal data just so I can experiment with stuff in their VR store. So that's one of the major reasons I haven't bothered.
Yeah, I noticed that too. It's kind of a bummer that you gotta do all that just to get to the good stuff, I suppose. But I guess that's what they wanted to do. And then also they mentioned in this article near the end here that I guess there's a tease last October during Oculus Connect, which I guess was like a conference for the Rift, that there is another standalone unit that they're working on, but this has all the power basically of the current Oculus Rift. So it could do positioning and do all that, but it's going to be all self-contained. So, and that's codenamed Santa Cruz. So we'll see. I don't know. Do you think this is just kind of a plan just because maybe the Rift is selling all that well right now? I know I saw it actually discounted, I think this past week, maybe for like $400 for like everything. I think that even included the controllers too. So I mean, that's pretty big dip in price.
Yeah, but that was a limited duration run. It was specifically designed to catalyze sales around Amazon Prime Day.
Sure.
I actually thought that was an excellent move, and quite honestly, if they had caught me before I'd already, paid for my midsummer upgrade package, I would have probably definitely grabbed an Oculus Rift in that window for $399. No, I don't think this is a danger Will Robinson, our business is failing maneuver. I just believe these are things that were probably already on their technology roadmap to be implemented, and they're just hitting the window now where they're being willing to pull back the curtain on that segment of the roadmap and start talking about what they either have in development or will soon have in development, and when it might be delivered. There's a very big news story or kind of a marketing dialogue going now, attempting to build awareness of the reduction of the minimum PC requirements to run a given VR headset, decoupling VR headsets from the cables, and also making them more mobile and portable so that they don't require things like the Vive requires, which is, additional sensors on the floor in a very large open space. So
yeah.
So Rift and I think HTC are very much involved, and Microsoft are very much involved in trying to build that as a story that people get in their head, so they get out of the thought that VR requires this, moon suit and an anti-grav simulator, in your computer room or den in order to make VR work effectively.
Like an exoskeleton for yourself.
right.
Yeah, I forgot about Microsoft. They had announced too that they're doing those kind of lower end VR headsets. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. All right, so let's jump over to the next article I got here, kind of going back to Netflix-like system here. There's a new subscription system, and this is coming from IGN, that's coming out. You know what? I don't remember if they mentioned it in the article. Oh yeah, I guess it's just for PC, Mac, Linux, and then Vive and the Rift. But it's basically like a Netflix-like streaming device, streaming service called Jump. And for right now, it looks like they're just going for the indie developers out there, the indie games that they're going to be putting on this subscription service for $10 a month. So it's not too bad, I suppose. There's a beta going on right now, closed beta, up until July 24th. And then I don't remember if they mentioned when they're gonna actually release this, and now my browser is acting up. But so yeah, so they were talking with the I'm like all over the place in this stupid thing now. The VP of Content and Community, and then the CEO, and just kind of saying how, kind of doing a parallel with movies, how, a movie comes out and it's premium, it's out in the theaters, you go out and pay big bucks for it. And then afterwards, it goes to the streaming services, it goes to, HBO, it goes to, DVD and all that kind of stuff, and they want to kind of bring that kind of model to games. So these are probably not going to be games that are new per se, or like new, day one release games. But once the game's been out there for, and I don't know if they actually mentioned in the article like how long, maybe a few months or so, but or just when they see the game sales starting to slow down, they'll try to bring it onto the service so they can get it out to hopefully more people. $10 a month, not too bad, about the same for Netflix and Hulu and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. What do you think about this? This sound like a good deal?
I guess my concern and question about it is, so for $120 a month, how many indie games do you think you could just buy?
It's true.
Right. So they're incredibly inexpensive. And I don't know that I really have a need. Let's assume you can buy 12 indie games, right? I don't really know that I need more than 12 indie games in a year. So it's just kind of a weird model. Like, I guess my one fear and concern of this comes more from the, being a software engineer and being an IT side is like, I don't know that these are things that we need, right? There's this rabid effort to slap the label service on everything. Do I need indie games as a service? Do I need you to serviceify things that are already cheap and inexpensive and like people aren't price sensitive about? I don't really know that needs to be done. So it's neat. I mean, it'll be there for people to consume if they want to. I just don't really know that there's a huge difference in just buying the indie games and owning the license to it yourself.
Yeah, straight out. I was gonna ask you. I guess it might be kind of hard though. For like if you look on Steam, I'm assuming there's like a varied amount of prices though, right? Like I don't know what the lowest price for an indie title would be. Like maybe a couple bucks, few bucks, $5.
I mean, the lowest prices are like 99 cents. That I can think of. Maybe there's stuff less expensive than that on there, but okay. But yeah, there are games on there on Steam for 99 cents.
I didn't realize it went that far down. Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I guess I don't know if they're trying to go for the higher tiered indie developer, I guess, if you want to call it that. I'm not sure if that's even valid, but yeah, I mean, I suppose, for some people it might be, a pretty good deal if they like the indie games, and I suppose it'll be fine. Just trying to see, just kind of the what you get for the service. Basically, I mean, you get all kinds of sorting that you can do for the games, updated games, games with new content, sort games by genre, leaderboard, achievements, stuff like that. So cloud saves, matchmaking on multiplayer games. So, you know, I mean, kind of the same thing you got in every game anyways. So I don't know. I guess it's cool just to have more competition out there, I suppose. So we'll see. So going from indie games to a huge game, AAA game, maybe? I don't know. Zeus, you tell me. Gran Turismo Sports coming out finally, a launch date?
Yeah, and DB dropped this headline in our coordination chat room, and I saw it when I was out on the go. It just so happens that the filtering and prioritization mechanism that I use for managing my feed and pulling articles for the show would have pulled Gran Turismo Sport as well. And so, you know, when I saw DB drop it and I added it to the list, to my list myself, I was like, oh yeah, no. It was this advanced feeling of that I knew I was going to be happy when I got around to reading this news article to prep for the show. And I'm kind of angry again at Gran Turismo. Like, I don't get so they just announced the release date, right? October 17th. That is less than 90 days away.
Yep, for the US, yep.
Right. And yes, and October 18th in the UK.
Yeah, day later.
So then the other thing they mentioned is Kazunori Yamauchi, who is the president of Polyphony Digital, which is kind of weird to me for a development studio to have a president, because they're usually like a smaller business unit, right? They usually have like just president is a term that usually gets applied to boards and stockholders, whereas you usually use like your C-level officers for the business itself. So normally somebody in Yamauchi's position would just be called a CEO.
Right.
But yeah, so he announced the release dates, October 17th in the US, October 18th in the UK. And then he went on, or at least the article goes on to talk about the fact that they will kind of incrementally be doling out dribs and drabs of additional news about the game between now and launch. Now, you might at the surface think that I should be happy with that, but I'm not, right? So I'm like, you've got less than 90 days to launch, and you just announced the release date, and you don't have like a brochure or a pamphlet with all that data available on hand. Like, why are you going to nickel and dime me with the marketing information and like incrementally over the months? And then we try and use language on the show that's family friendly, so I'm going to refrain from some more assertive verbiage that I would like to use. But I'm like, why are you telling me this like I'm supposed to be happy about it? Like, you know, like it just feels very arrogant. It feels very much like the PS3 launch is what this whole thing feels like. You know, like, and I'll quote the article here, which is it's an article on Game Insider, but Kazunori Yamauchi also mentioned that between now and launch, there will be more unveiled concerning the game, such as many features associated with the campaign mode, various creative tools, as well as a full reveal on all the cars and tracks you can look forward to racing on launch day, end quote. And I'm like, I'm supposed to be excited, or I'm supposed to hang out on standby so you can tell me about the campaign mode? I'm like, that's a basic definition of a basic game structure. Number one that is going to largely decide whether I bother buying the game or not. That should be available now. It shouldn't be like you're doing me a favor by releasing that information. You know, like this. Come
on, that 30-second trailer didn't do it for you?
I haven't watched the 30-second.
Oh, you didn't even watch that? Oh, yeah.
No,
okay.
Right.
I just watched it just now as you're talking. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's a trailer. They show a bunch of cars, so I mean, I guess that's cool.
Yeah, but again, you know, Project Cars 2, which has a far smaller marketing budget, has like I'm going to fact check because I'm pretty sure that the Project Cars 2 teaser trailer is longer than this thing. Right, so I feel like Polyphony. Sorry if you heard the big Windows noise there, but you know, Polyphony to me enjoys far more. So I'm looking at Project Cars 2. I Google for it. I haven't even gone to their website. It says right here, Project Cars 2 reveals all 60 live tracks and 139 layouts. This is a game that has revealed more information than the #1 console manufacturer on the planet right now has revealed about their primary racing game, which is arriving a year late, which, you know, in and by itself was still a year after the console launched, right? So, I'm sorry, 3 years after the console launched. So,
Yeah, this trailer I'm looking at it for Project Cars is almost 2 minutes long. So, and that was from E3. So,
that was the second trailer.
oh, that was the second trailer. Oh,
Yes,
okay, I thought that was the first
E3.
trailer.
There was a reveal trailer in the spring before we even got to E3.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so there's a January 30th trailer that was a minute and a half.
Yep. Well, September release for Project Cars 2.
And they were already telling you when the game was coming. Like, and we're
It's going to be that darn good. Just know that, all right?
yeah.
That's basically what they're telling you.
Right. You know, and the only thing is that, you know, the two versions that preceded this one was buried in the, you know, because it got released less than 30 days after the PlayStation 4 came out, but it was a game that released on the PlayStation 3. And the one before that had this ridiculously Byzantine and confusing campaign structure that just really kind of made no sense. So, you know, but sadly, that one that got buried in December of 2013 was a really good game and really corrected a lot of the campaign problems that were in Gran Turismo. And I don't have the numbers straight in the Gran Turismo before that. I think those were. I think that was Gran Turismo 6 and 7. So I'm not sure, but the main point is, you know, this. I'm amazed at the ego that's going on with this, and it's not incentivizing me or encouraging me to buy the game. I will say, look, if it's a great game and the media falls all over it and it gets really good reviews, and I don't hear a strong theme that, you know, don't buy into the hype, you know, this game is really honestly bad beneath the surface, then I'm probably going to go ahead and get it. But I'm really frustrated in the walk up to it. And I wish the picture were clearer. I'll close out with saying, again, in a holiday season where you're getting a Forza game, Need for Speed, Project Cars 2, the Crew 2, like,
yeah, Crew 2, yeah.
Gran Turismo is not launching in a barren world where there's no competition. In fact, I'm pretty certain this is the biggest holiday scene of concurrent racing titles being released. We just got Dirt 4. People are still going to be playing that. So to me, this isn't just they just wade in waving their brand in everyone's face, right? And everybody's expected to go buy Gran Turismo. They've got to prove themselves. And mid-October is when people really start being consciously aware of how many more titles they have to buy before they get into the month of December, which is the month where I say the money's already spent, right? But as you get into those first 2 weeks of December, I would contend, you know, most families and gift buyers are you know, in that post Black Friday time window are settling out on the last few presents, and then they kind of go into lockdown, right, until for a lot of people until you get into tax season. So
yeah,
you know, people are picking their titles now that they're going to buy and closing the books, and there's not a lot of room for variance. So get your act together, Polyphony.
Yeah, so Gran Turismo 6 was 2013.
Okay, so that's the one that got buried. So,
okay, and then 5 was 2010. Was 3 years before that.
Right, and that 2013 game, you know, so both of them had horrible initial updates, which just from a software perspective, or foisting that on consumers is a horribly broken set of behaviors. I think 6 maybe wasn't as bad. Maybe it looked really bad to me because I was downloading like 3 years worth of updates by the time I finally played the game. But like I said, 6, I really liked 6, and I still play 6 today. 5 just was, their approach to the campaign was just bad.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll get Project Cars in September, so that's coming out first, and then Forza is coming out. Forza Motorsport 7 will come out on October 3rd. So you got 2 racing games before this even comes out, the new one. So we'll see.
Where you're looking that up is, can you easily tell when Need for Speed and The Crew come out?
No, I'd have to look at that real quick. Yeah, I can do that real quick.
Okay.
As you speak in a little more of Gran Turismo. I think I thought the Cars was, or I mean, The Crew was supposed to be October too. Let's see. New Need for Speed, NF. Payback. All right. Yeah, it's Payback, right?
Payback's a new one.
November.
Okay.
Yeah, November for Need for Speed, and
so that's good. Gran Turismo does get out before Need for Speed.
Gets up for that one. Yeah, let me see when The Crew comes out. If it tells me here. Crew will be coming out. It's not coming out until next year. Next year says March of 2018 for The Crew 2.
Okay.
So yeah, so they got two coming out.
Right.
Beforehand at least. So, all right. Well, now that we've ripped Gran Turismo a new one, let's call this episode done. So, if you enjoyed this episode or any other ones, please subscribe to our network and like this episode. Share it with your friends. Any other new plugs you want to throw out there real quick?
No.
All right. So real quick, I'll just say, E2KG Network. Subscribe to that. We have our normal show, Enough to Keep Going, on Mondays, which should all be here, I believe, next Monday. And then obviously every Thursdays we have the news show, and then we also have the Dark Hypothesis, which goes over the Dark Matters TV show. And so check that out with Zeus. I'll actually host that one too. And I'm sorry, I keep forgetting his name, Dave
Pecci.
Dave Pecci. There we go. So catch that, and we will see you Monday for the normal show, and back here on next Thursday. So until then, see you guys next time. Go ahead. Sorry.
So one final thing I wanted to point out. So yes, so there are no other racing games that release on October 17th. However, October 17th is the week before Destiny 2 releases.
Nice.
So it's tough.
You get a little bit of racing in before you delve back into Destiny.
Right.
It's a small game.
Yes. So yeah, please, as Prime said, please join us on the other E2KG shows where we are virtualizing the water cooler one podcast at a time.
Oh yeah. Maybe we'll have some more wrestling quotes next time. We'll see. We'll see what I can come up with for Monday's show. All right, guys. Everybody, we'll catch you on Monday, hopefully, and we'll see you next time.